Hello, I've seen people comparing cookies-based authorization versus JWT authorization for 1 million times already. And usually the argument is that cookies are stateful and JWT is stateless, and this is completely wrong. Let me explain you why. The setup usually is the following. Browser authenticates user with login and password. Authorization server checks it and sets the session ID representing the authorization. After that, authorization server sends this session ID back to the browser via cookie. Starting from this point, browser sends this session ID with each request to the authorization server. On the other side, we have JWT, which is self-contained, as it has all the information about authentication represented inside itself through the claims. The setup is pretty much the same. Browser tries to authenticate the user with the login and password. Authorization server receives this login password, authenticates user, and creates the JWT token, including all the claims that represent the authentication, for example, email, name, birthday, whatever else. It signs this JWT token with private key and returns it back to the browser. Starting from this point, browser or client can send the request to any of the server that can validate the signature, and this is how authorization works. The thing is that no one actually forces you to use cookie only with session IDs. You can use cookies the same way as you are using headers with the JWT token as a communication mechanism. So in this case, when browser authenticates the user, the authorization server also creates the JWT token, but then it can return this JWT token as a cookie by using setCookieHeader. Starting from this point, browser includes this JWT token as a cookie every single time, and your authorization server can simply check the signature same way as using the header. This means that cookies are actually stateless at this point, because you can kill your server, restart it, until you are using the same origin, which is the same domain. It will keep working. So the typical login flow would include checking the username and password, then we are creating claims for token, creating the credentials using the signature, then we just create token and write it back through the cookie. On the validation part, we are trying to get the cookie and just validate the JWT token signature using the same private key. And this part is basically for displaying. So if we run our application and try to validate, we will get 401. Because there is no attached cookie. As you can see here, it's totally empty. So now let's try to authenticate. Expected response, it returned 200 and set the cookie in the browser. As you can see, we have cookie called myAuthCookie with the JWT token. Now we can go and validate and see our parsed claims. Okay, it was me, Andriy. Thank you for watching. Hope it was helpful.